Welcome to the past, where you'll get information related to sports, video games, technology, music, and our all-time favorite ass of the week. What is up? What is good? The past is back. We are with a new week, a new day. I'm your host, BT, doing yet another episode. This is episode 202. I know we've been going. 201, if you may or may not have heard, was a pretty dope, deep, and heavy dived episode about people shooting a shot. So if you have not listened to episode 201, I definitely would recommend that. I have the link for that in the show notes. We're not going to really waste a lot of fluff time because there's a little bit of catching up in sports that I want to get to. There were a couple stories. It's been somewhat of a dry spell with sports, and I'll break all of that down. And then we have some music that I really want to kind of chop it up about because music sessions have been strong and heavy, and you'll see what I mean when we get to that point. As we always start out with, we are, doing our angel numbers. This is episode 202, so our angel number will be 202. Angel number 202 says that what is key for you at this point is to seek out the right path for your life and choose to remain on this path. Keep your focus pegged on your faith and believe completely in your abilities and talents. Your angels promise to guide you. There is no cause for alarm, even when doubtful thoughts bombard you. Bear in mind that your faith can keep you afloat in the face of adversity. You need to understand what the angel number 202 means in your life. Number 2 stands for connections, balance, unity, and harmony. People associated with number 2 are sensitive and value service to humanity. You are encouraged to look inward and increase your interest to serve your fellow human beings. This will help you find your soul mission faster. You will become more self-aware each day you give in service to others. Your growth in your journey will be so rapid it will shock you. Number 2 is repeated in this series to emphasize the value of connections in your life. Connect with people who support your destiny and push you to attain it. 0 is the number that denotes continuity of energy that flows into eternity. It signifies the unraveling nature of your journey and prepares you for any eventualities. Your angels want you to rely on them for assistance. They will be eternally present to help you with everything you might need for your life's journey. The angel number 202 meaning asks you to see to harmony and balance in your life. Only then will you find true fulfillment and find the deep meaning of happiness. Remember to assist the people around you to reach their own destinies as you find yours. All right. So I wasn't sure whether I would or wouldn't be talking about this story early on, but I'm going to kind of talk about it, but not give too much information before we go into our sports. Changes are going on around me in my life constantly. That's everybody's life, so it's not just me alone. First and foremost, before I even go into that, I also want to give a shout out to my mom. Happy birthday, Mom. You may or may not hear the podcast, but she's celebrating her 75th birthday, so shout outs to her in that regard. I'll say this. I'm not going to give really an A to Z deep dive of what I want to get into, but I'm just going to kind of say something to kind of summarize how I feel and where I stand about this. It's a point in life where changes occur. Changes occur. The constant of life is change, etc., etc. The challenge begins of knowing how to embrace that change. It's not a change that everyone is open to embracing. There are changes, however, that we're not very open to embracing. For me personally, I think because I've known this person and I've known this place for practically more than half of my life, it's me indirectly. sometimes, and I've said this constantly on the podcast. I have a previous employment that I was with, and branding was glued into my brain somehow, some way. It still sticks with me even with not being at that place, but it's no different with this location as well. This location, like I said, I've literally been involved with them for over 20 years. And without being a part of it, I would have no ability, or there wouldn't have been much of a growing or building curve for me whatsoever. I'm just saying all that to say, value the small things that are around you, because it'll benefit the other things that are coming. And it's ironic because I'm saying that just to look at it as my biggest thing personally has been about local, internal, everything nearby, just knowing what's important around me. I've wanted to push esports. I wanted to push gaming. I want to push different little things here in the community. And there's a facility and a venue practically in my backyard that could be a start or a catapult to that. It's a matter of if or when of trying to get that ball rolling. But it ties into the relevance of the statement, because there are things around us that we know we should be doing or are wanting to do, but we just don't want to do it. And one part that's said that really stood out for me is, increase your interest to serve your fellow human beings. And that's been something that I've tried my hardest and my best to make every effort to consistently do. Even down to this week, and I guess this will be another plug, so I'll, mention it now. Saturday the 25th, August the 25th, if you are in the Richmond area and you like gaming, there will be a gaming event going on at Buffalo Wild Wings on Broad Street before you get to Perham Road. We'll be there probably about 8 or 9 o'clock. You'll see the setups. You'll see consoles. You'll see gaming. Come by, get something, buy something from the bar, get something from the venue, like eat, crush, have a good time. But come over and get some gaming in. Like, you may meet some good people and possibly network into a larger amount of people. Final, I guess, pre-podcast announcement. Also on Saturday, I will be a special guest on Ashley and Jazz's show, Soulful Gab. I've been, catching up on shows, listening, binge watching. We've been Twitter shooting back and forth with gifts. So definitely come check that out if you want some good information, some good content. We'll have a free for all, and I'll kind of be giving a slight dive on my end first of some things, and then we'll talk about it more on Saturday. But I'm not gonna really give y'all a whole. I know I like this, like kind of a almost like morning announcements, but I haven't podcasted like as far as doing my sports and stuff run in a minute, so that's why it's kind of a little new, but not necessarily. We have our final 2 teams. Before I do big 3, because I'm gonna be fair, and I'm gonna give this as much attention as I deem fit. The JBA League has finished. Those players who played, everyone participated, got their just desserts, rewards, whatever. There's possibility that the league could be portrayed as being fixed. I don't want to say that early. I can't. That now, I'm saying that on my show. I'm also looking at it as I really didn't watch and keep up with it too much after the first few weeks, only because it had the competition of basketball, but it also had the lack of defense like high school. So I kind of knew what to expect watching it. But the LA Ballers, or the Los Angeles Ballers, did indeed win. I did listen to a player who was playing on the LA Ballers team. He kind of gave his insight to another YouTuber. Not gonna really give any info in depth about that, other than it just kind of gave a full perspective on the league. the thing is, when you're doing something, you have to be sure what you're doing it for. There's a goal, or there's an end game or something out of it. Like, I talk about the podcast. I'm always doing my podcast. The reason I am doing podcasting is for networking and to meet new people, as well as to build my platform and personal part of the podcast community. So just want to give that spiel. Back to our stories, we have the Big Three is down to its championship game. They did play the semifinals matchups last week. All I can say is we're going to have a very... we got a big matchup in store for the final game. Three's Company was able to beat the Three-Headed Monsters, which I personally did not expect to happen. I'm not even going to sit here and be funny. Even with Rashard Lewis out, I kind of thought the Three-Headed Monsters had a chance. The difficulty of that matchup was that you really, I don't know, I just feel like that Three's Company came to play. Like, there's no, make no mistake about it. Like, a lot of times we'll hear, oh, a team brought their best game, this, that, and the third. They were not open to taking them lightly. So you had Three-Headed Monsters against Three's Company. Like I said, Three's Company won that game. And then you had Tri-State against Power. Tri-State was kind of one of the favorites too, because if you look back when we talked about Big Three, from week one, your biggest story was Nate Robinson coming in and playing. And they were able to like I said, they lost to Power. Power is like I said, I say gritty constantly, but Power is a team that I like to watch play. Because, I mean, you have a balanced inside and outside presence. That was what Three-Headed Monsters had, as far as Rauf getting off, as well as Reggie Evans getting his points inside. Dante Jones surprised me, and he brought a good game. Andre Emmett might be in the conversation of MVP. It's early on, but I'll say it to say it. The Killer Threes, I'm not going to really give a long spiel with this, but this question was brought up during their press conference to Steven Jackson. And anyone who knows Steven Jackson, he's going to be a buck about it. He's going to be honest as can be. The question was brought to his attention about Kobe Bryant playing in the Big Three. And they, as any competitor would say, they're saying, he mentioned it as, I would love to have him in the Big Three. And he's right. Like, I think it would be a very valuable asset to have him as part of the Big Three as a whole, because if you look at the state of the Big Three league as in general, he would fit right in. Like, and they didn't ask him like if he could, would you want him to play? I think it was, could Kobe handle the physicality of the Big Three? And I'm like, well, maybe this news person or media person didn't really watch Kobe play in the NBA. I don't know. But yeah, our final matchup is Three's Company against Power. That championship game will be played this Friday. I'm going to do my best to catch, because usually I catch highlights or I catch it kind of on a whim because I'll be working at night, but I'll still, have the results. And as I always do, share it with the masses. More than likely, depending on how things flow, it'll possibly be that Sunday I will get that implemented into the next show. So, sticking to Big Three briefly, because this just came to my attention. I didn't even know this. The championship trophy that they have, they're actually doing it as a dedication to Dr. J. It's being called they're naming it in his honor. Big Three named the league championship trophy in his honor. He's the coach of Tri-State. He's been part of the league since last year. The trophy will be presented at the 2018 championship game at Barclays Center. Kenyon Martin and Al Harrington's trilogy took the inaugural championship. They've already, and they mentioned this at the beginning of the season as far as how, that they defended it, that they were looking to defend the title, but Trilogy, as we saw, Trilogy's kind of was going in on a flat tire from the beginning. There was really not much you could say beyond the obvious. And they just kind of give a couple accolades about what Dr. J has done for the NBA. And also remembering he played in the ABA as well. And then they just go over the schedule for the season. So this was written a while back, but the trophy is being named in honor of Dr. J. So whoever wins the championship this year will be winning the Julius Erving Big Three championship. Me taking a blind stab in the dark right now on who would win, I really feel like Power has been on the best run. Corey Maggette is going to be a big factor in how that game can or cannot go. And I'll leave it at that. We're playing a little bit of catch up, but we're gonna break this down because it is important. The NBA gave their key schedule, and they also gave the full schedule for the NBA. The games that everybody always wants to know about is who's playing opening night, when are certain players going to play against certain teams. In the case of this year, we kind of want to, it's kind of a two-parter of knowing when is LeBron going to play against Cleveland, as well as when does LeBron, let me restate that. When do the Lakers play against Cleveland, since he's now in LA? And when are the Lakers playing against the Warriors, to see that matchup, especially with the Warriors coming in with their new lineup? I also personally want to see the Warriors their first game when DeMarcus Cousins officially plays. Because I'm still not sure if he's going to play the full, be able to be available for the season. They sometimes will break down the 1 and 2 matchups between rookies. So, we want to know when does Phoenix play Sacramento? Also when Sacramento plays LA, since we have yet to really see that Lonzo and De'Aaron Fox matchup that everybody has kind of put into play. So a couple key matchups. LA starting its, LeBron James era. He'll be playing against the Houston Rockets. That's going to be on October 20th. The Texas welcome will be on January 3rd, where, doggone it, I'm sitting here looking. Kawhi Leonard is going to be coming back to San Antonio to play his first game. Prepare for a lot of boos in that game. I'm just going to tell you right now. There's also question of whether he even comes back to, whether he even, I'm still not sure if he's going to play this season. That's just my personal hot take. We'll get to see Gordon Hayward play again, because we missed him playing last season. So he'll get his first stint, and it's actually going to be against the Philadelphia 76ers, which it's early on, but it's kind of generated. If you really look at the series from last year, this will kind of be your matchup of a somewhat of a rivalry between Philadelphia and Boston. So we'll look forward to that. Warriors and Rockets play against each other 3 times. They play on November the 15th, January 3rd of next year, and February 23rd. Boston playing Golden State is always good, because as much as people may or may not realize this, seeing Kyrie Irving playing against Steph Curry is a huge matchup. I personally know when they went into the battle last year, you say whatever you want, like even with Kyrie not playing in the playoffs, seeing some of the moves and the way he handles the basketball, you won't see this type of basketball again for a while. It's just my immediate hot take. DeRozan is going to be playing his first game back in Toronto on February 22nd. That's going to be an alternative of the Kawhi situation. I feel as though DeRozan is going to get a lot of cheers and fanfare, because as we saw and as the story unraveled, he really wasn't given a proper send out. It was, we're letting you go. We said we were loyal to you, but we really aren't, or we really weren't. And they just kind of made their move. They call this Dash Banana Boat Dreams. I don't know what that means. Lakers visit Houston. to mainly kind of look at the possibility with LeBron James and the boat, when they were on the boat together, Chris Paul and LeBron. But LeBron is going to be down in Houston for the games on December the 13th and January 19th. And LeBron plays his first game, or the Lakers play their first game in Cleveland on November the 21st. And Christmas, you have Portland playing against Utah. LA, the Lakers are going to be playing against the Raptors on November the 4th. So that'll be the first time that Kawhi is going to be playing against LA in his new home. Let's see. They have the Pelicans playing against the 76ers. So you get to see Okafor and Joel Embiid go against each other. And you have Phoenix playing against Dallas. And they're looking at what they're saying, that game is on April the 9th. So they're saying that might be the last game that he plays for Dallas. And now I mentioned this earlier, December 4th, Sacramento Kings against Phoenix Suns. DC against Philly is on January the 8th. So one game that I guess I need to see if I can find it while I'm sitting here, because I'm curious to see who they have lined up this year. All right, give me 1 second, because normally I'm already prepared for this matchup. But all right, Christmas Day schedule. We get our Big Five. It is Milwaukee at New York, Oklahoma City at Houston, Philadelphia at Boston, the Lakers at Golden State, which is ironic because I feel as though if LeBron was still in Cleveland, it would be Cleveland at Golden State. But I think it's wherever LeBron was going. Even if he had went to Philly, they would have found a way to make it Philly at Golden State. Just my personal take. But the Lakers will be playing at Golden State. Portland will be playing at Utah, as I mentioned earlier. Also, the Martin Luther King Jr. Schedule. You have the Pelicans playing against Memphis, Houston playing at Philly, and Golden State plays at LA. So we'll get Golden State and LA 2 times out of the 3 TV matches. The only thing that I'm saying, and this is early on, is that I hope they give how can I put this? I hope they give or they create actual NBA jerseys specifically for the Christmas season. Now, I know last year they didn't do it and no one really made a big scene, but I know the NBA also doesn't want to miss money. And if you look at I think this year I could see them doing it only because, and if you gotta really look at basketball and think about this. And I'll go into the next story once after this thought. If you create a specific or special, let me state this and then I'll go into this point. LeBron playing when he first came into the NBA, go back to 2003. He got to Cleveland. All of the jerseys that they initially had just for the Cavs before he got there, we saw those. And then when he became a Cavalier and he was drafted, they made jerseys specifically, like they brought back jerseys. They made new jerseys. There were multiple waves of NBA jerseys for the Cavaliers. Yes, I know they were under Adidas, but just think of this. He goes to Miami, same thing. They, have the initial Miami jerseys, but there were more jerseys being created thanks to having LeBron on the team. He goes back to Cleveland. They had their jerseys initially already made. Some more we kind of saw come into the mix. Now he goes to LA. LA has shown their design. They're going back to their retro design of kind of giving it the 90s look, looking like the Showtime Lakers. We're going to see the black jersey. We're going to see the Minneapolis LeBron jersey. Somebody probably already has it now, but I can see new jerseys being created through the season because of the Lakers. But also I feel like the Christmas game would be a chance for them for Nike to make up for what they missed last year. Just my hot take, just me looking at it. I could be wrong, but that's kind of the assessment I have offhand of thinking of the league using their opportunity or their maximum potential. All right. I left the story back and I didn't want to leave it back, but since we're here and this is, like I said, this is part of the Norm weekly show, the NCAA distributed or gave they lightened the subject about the kids declaring for sports, how it works as far as if you want to undeclared, things of that nature. But it's things that were left out that no one that's not being told. So this kind of gives, I'm going to go into these as best as I can and kind of rip it apart a little bit, because I was able to watch some videos that actually gave more insight than people realize. Because a lot of the assumptions were, for instance, if I'm a freshman and I decide I want to go into the NBA draft, I have the option of undeclaring, but there's also rules and there's added layers behind doing it. So the update they gave was there's more chances to visit colleges during and after high school. You have 5 visits between August the 1st and the end of the junior year of high school. You have 5 visits between the end of their junior year and October 15th after high school graduation. They also have 5 visits between October 15th after high school graduation and the remainder of their college eligibility. A student athlete can visit a school only once per year. Unofficial visits cannot begin before August 1st of the student's sophomore year of high school. Schools now can pay for 28 total visits for recruits. Breaking this down even more, and these rules actually have gone into effect as of, some of them will be immediate, some of them just went into effect because this article was written back on the 8th. With agents for high school students, pending a decision by the NBA and the NBA Players Association, high school players can be represented by an agent beginning July 1st before their senior year in high school, provided they have been identified as an elite senior prospect by USA Basketball. They're doing this solely based on if the NBA, it's kind of almost like this is almost like the NCAA throwing the NBA an alley-oop, where it's, okay, we're making it flexible again, where if a kid decides that he wants to go to the NBA, he can have an agent coming out of high school. It's just a matter of whether the NBA actually triggers or trends that rule. And we'll be waiting to see how that goes. College basketball players can be represented by an agent after any basketball season if they request an evaluation from the NBA undergraduate advisory committee. Agents can pay for expenses. They can pay for meals and transportation for players and their families if the expenses are related to the agent selection process. Also, the student cannot miss class, and the money must be spent where the student lives or attends school. Additionally, high school and college student athletes and their families can have meals, transportation, and lodging paid for by an agent if those expenses are associated with meetings with the agent or pro team. This is all based on, if you look back with the whole situation with Louisville, with Michigan State, as far as with Miles Bridges, like those names and those individuals are why they're putting a lot of emphasis on this. Agent agreements. All agreements between agents and high school or college student athletes must be in writing. They must be terminated when the student enrolls in or returns to college. And it must be disclosed to the NCAA for high school students or the school for students that are already in college. NBA draft flexibility. This is one that's kind of been missed a little bit and needs to, I guess this is where clarity comes into play. College basketball players who request an undergraduate advisory committee evaluation, participate in the NBA Combine, and aren't drafted can return to school as long as they notify their athletics director of their intent by 5 p.m. the Monday after the draft. Important thing to go over, so I'm gonna give you some hindsight and understanding. I decide I want to go to the NBA. I don't get an invite to the I get an invite to the combine, but I don't participate in the combine. If you don't participate in the combine, you've null and voided that NBA draft flexibility, because you have to actually participate in the combine to get that credibility. Like a lot of guys, they don't participate in the combine because they already know they're going to get drafted. They already have it in their head. Well, not even that they're getting drafted, but they're a lottery pick or they're a high pick. So they're not going to participate for that purpose. And they have a couple other rules that are being implemented. These are some heavy rules that right now may not seem like a lot on the surface, but in hindsight, we're going to really be talking about this and looking at this soon, because it's relevant to what the NBA is going to decide to do, or what college basketball is going to decide to do next with how kids, because as a player in basketball, I'm not going to just say as a kid or as an NBA player, because it can go either way. You get caught in this tough spot, and this isn't being done because of certain players. This is being done because they need something to kind of solidify and simplify the process accordingly. If you decide that you want to go into the NBA draft, you may have had a somewhat mediocre combine viewing, and that's the other thing. A lot of players who go to the combine never get drafted. So that's where you kind of get to make that choice of that viewing of what you are or aren't trying to do. Because in most cases, once the draft has occurred, if you didn't get drafted, you stuck. Especially if you got an agent. So they're kind of trying to get that flexibility to students in figuring out what they want to do, because you could end up not being picked up by a team, possibly become a walk-on. Because in college you have walk-ons. In the NBA you have walk-ons. You have guys who they don't get drafted. They don't really get any attention through the combine. So it's a matter of, I'm going to play in these different pickup games. Rico Hines, they talk about him a lot. They show a lot of his videos on YouTube to see what the next step is for this player. The player then the person decides, okay, I'm going to go ahead and play Summer League. Summer League, you may get minutes, you may not get minutes. It can vary. And you may be playing for multiple teams to get time on the court. And then once that decision is come and gone, that still hasn't solidified or guaranteed you a jersey for an NBA team. So it's just something to look at and something to think about. But I just wanted to bring that up and bring a little bit of attention to that. Going into football, this story was a huge breaking story. It's actually broke this weekend. Josh Gordon did decide that he's going to play he's returning to the Browns. He's thankful and appreciative for them giving him, time to work on himself mentally and physically. He did give a statement as a humbly return to being a member of this organization with an opportunity to get back to playing this game I love. I realize in order for me to reach my full potential, my primary focus must remain on my sobriety and mental well-being. I'm glad. I truly, and I'm saying this because this isn't even a race thing. It's just like my personal, just viewing of reality. You want to see someone succeed at what they're doing, especially if they're talented at what they're doing. Anyone can have any type of feelings and thoughts they have towards Josh Brown as an individual. The man can play football. We haven't really been able to see him play football because his headspace has screwed him over personally to not get things done in the way he needs to. I think this is, and this is a small step in the right direction. Now our $1 million question becomes, will he get through this season? I'm not gonna lie. I'm glad they presented and made this announcement because I believe within the next month or next week, couple of weeks, I feel like Dez is gonna sign to the Browns. I thought they did this announcement and story to kind of give the attention to lead into Dez going. Now, of course, that story broke on Saturday. Whether, as of right now, Dez is not playing for them, but getting Dez to join the Browns would be huge because, I mean, right now, a lot of talks in places and him going to another team, it's all been at a standstill. We haven't heard anything. Like, normally there would be some type of ruffling or rumbling of a story. It's been crickets and quiet. So, we'll, as I always say, we'll keep an eye on that story. If Dez does make a move, we'll have it on the next story, on the next podcast. That is all I have for our sports. I truly don't want I don't want anyone to think or feel as though there hasn't been anything going on in sports. Sports just kind of is in that dry spell right now. And it's nothing to take away from baseball. It's nothing to take away from golf. Yes, Tiger placed, I believe, second in a major recently. There was a story about Serena kind of going through her battle in tennis. But there really hasn't been any like heavy hit stories. Premier League is starting back up. I'm not really going to give... And in this, Premier League is like soap operas. And this is a tough analogy, but bear with me. Y'all know how I do. When you first look at a soap, people who really are like devoted and dedicated to soap operas, when they look at them, you can miss part of the show and be fine. Because if you come back later, you'll really get what happened. NBA season. It's 82 games in an NBA season. If you sit and see that a team went 7-2 and you're already putting them in the playoffs and think they're going to win, like go to the finals, pump your brakes. Like let's let them play against some teams. Let's let some teams gel and get chemistry and then see if after 50 games, whether they're 41, whether they're, 25-25 or 30-20. Because those 5 games may not seem like a lot, but it is when it comes to you getting close to starting to seed and get placings in the playoffs. And with the Premier League is no exception. Like right now, Chelsea has 6 points. Like they're technically leading the table. But I think Man City has won out. Man U lost a surprising game to Huddersfield. I've been keeping up with Liverpool as I can. I believe they play today. But as a whole, it's just everything kind of just, playing it by ear. And we just got to, as with anything, you got to wait it out to see what teams are going to do and how things are going to pan out once the tables really start to build and, teams have played their, international friendlies as well as Champions League, things of that nature. Ronaldo had his first match. It was a quiet match, but they won. That's all that matters. They did mention that his first game not playing for Real Madrid in 9 years, they had a low attendance, one of their lowest attendances. So that's the story. Have yet to see or hear anything about Courtois. There was talk that Hazard may be going to Real, but that story kind of came and went. It hasn't solidified yet. I don't believe it's happening yet or at all. But as I always say, if stories break, they'll hit. We definitely will go over it and talk about it in the podcast. So as I said, this is our point where we do stuff. The first stuff that we'll get into that I did get some information on, and I've been keeping up with it. I've been quiet about it, talking about it off and on, but it is still relevant because we're getting down to the finals or the championship game next week, or actually this coming Saturday, is the NBA 2K League. Now, before I talk about this, y'all know I always tell it like it is and go by what I see, and kind of if you look at it, it makes sense. They have one of the streamers who's on Twitch who was able to kind of give those who have not seen or experienced what the 2K League is about or what it does, kind of give you that full behind the scenes viewing. They were, going through the tour, going to different areas, and they got to a point, they talked to one of the individuals who works, I guess, as a coach or manager for one of the teams. And he was very honest. And if you really look at the league, it's not an invalid statement for it to be as valid as it is. The tournament, the league was thrown together, but it still came together good. Like the venue they play at, the environment, the crowd, the viewings, like they took, because if you look at it, the first 2 or 3 weeks when they showed 2K League games, they would show the camera angle from the default view. I think the more the chat would give that input, the more the devs probably looked at it and really thought about it. Put it on 2K view, and it's been on 2K view ever since. We even got to the point, and I'm not sure, I want to say it was like that in game from game one, but I think we see it more now that you have the actual cameras in front of each player to get their excitement and joy while playing, get their personal feels of how, when they talking trash, talking smack to somebody. And this wasn't brought to my attention until a few weeks back, that whoever they're defending, the person sits directly across from them. So if they when they sit in the arena, they're sitting in a circle. 5 players are on one side, 5 players on the other side, and then it's like a little bit of a wedge or a gap between, but it equals out to a circle. Well, let's say that going from left to right, on the left side the first player that's seated, like they would be, if you're looking at the event or looking at the gaming, the person who sits furthest away on the left side, he's defending the person who's on the right side closest to you. And you can kind of get that viewing, like when they talk, you're talking directly across to that person. But they still talk trash to the whole team. And you have some teams and some players who are pretty quiet, and it's, it's just it kind of goes the way it does. So I'm sharing all that, and I'm just, bringing it out to attention. I did hear this story, but I didn't really look at it in depth as to what happened. Because there was questions about the first game. So there were 2 matchups between the 76ers GC and Heat Check Gaming. And then the second matchup was Cavs and Knicks. The 76ers lost to Heat Check 2-0. Heat Check did win 2-0. There was question about the first game between those two. They were able to get it cleared up. They didn't talk. I will give the commentators credit, and I will give the league credit. It was handled. It was dealt with. It was addressed. They moved forward. If attention is brought to it, it'll be brought to attention on its own, not because someone inadvertently slipped and told what happened. But they did talk about that. So Heat Check won their series. The Cavs Knicks series was even more impressive because the Knicks were kind of like the Cinderella team. The Knicks got in thanks to winning their tournament, which was the second tournament. I think it was a ticket. And they lost game 1 to the Cavs, but they won games 2 and 3. So they ended up winning 2-1. So the Knicks Knicks game ended up advancing. Now Knicks gaming, to put it in perspective, were the underdog of the entire, they were ranked number 8 in the brackets, as far as with the tournament seeding. So they already had beat Blazers Gaming to get to this point. You had to win 2, best 2 out of 3. So that now has led us to our finals, which has Heat Check Gaming playing against Knicks Gaming. And like I said, those games will be on the 25th at 4, 5, and 6 respectively, based on times. If a game goes a little longer due to overtime and anything of that nature. But it's good to see and I've talked with my roommate about this before, and I'm sharing this with you all now. Gaming has finally hit a stage where it's acceptable. And it's ironic because a couple years ago, if anybody talked about playing NBA 2K, normally when we talk about gaming, it's always the assumed, they stay in their basement, they don't take showers, stuff, things of that sort. Gaming now is a culture. Gaming is a community. Like, if you don't believe gaming is being a real thing, go to a 2K, go to 2K League, even if you don't go this year. Check it out next year in New York. If you don't believe gaming is a thing, go to Evo in Las Vegas. Go to any gaming event. Matter of fact, here on the East Coast, attend MagFest one time. Just go once and really look at those who are into gaming. Not just people, you got folks who are into it and they're attending, they're participating, but you have people who are really hardcore, can get on a controller and put in cheat codes that other people wouldn't even think of. So that's just something to think about and something to look at with gaming as a whole. As the playoffs have started and now we're getting to the finals, the NBA has decided that 4 more teams are going to be joining. Those teams will be the Atlanta Hawks, the Brooklyn Nets, the LA Lakers, and the Minnesota Timberwolves. I have a feeling, and this is early on, this is just me talking. I can see if the Lakers are joining, I can definitely see them having a venue in LA for them to play. That way you're not only playing in New York. And that gives the guys a chance to kind of, mix and match on going to different venues and also competing, finding out, seeing what's new in that area. And I mean, they're also under the NBA umbrella. But yeah, the 2K League nicknames have not been given. This will now bring the league up to 21 teams. Yay, to the airplane. We're going to let that happen. He's looking, Adam Silver wants to have all 30 NBA teams involved by the 3rd year of the 2K League. We'll see. I mean, if you think about it, you pretty much you're over 67% of the way there. Because now all you need is just the last 9 teams. Once you have them on board, you're all set. Because if you look at it, I think the teams that you had the Clippers that are out. Houston, I think, doesn't have one in. And this is something to add to, just random minutia. Even with teams not having the NBA 2K involvement, they're involved in other events. You have Overwatch. I'm not sure if Dota is one, but I know Overwatch is definitely one. I would not be surprised if anybody's part of Rocket League. I haven't looked at Rocket League matches in a while, but I used to be a big Rocket League guy. But getting those teams to all participate, having all 32 teams would be sick. So we'll be keeping our eyes for that, as once the season continues with the NBA 2K League and how it's progressed. I'm going to surprise everyone at this point because normally I would never do this, but I'm going to talk about Android. Yes, you heard right. This is not going to be an Apple-based podcast. I will give some Android insight because it's one of their newer operating systems or newer programs for the Android devices was released. So anyone who has an Android device, if you have not updated, Android 9 Pie is out. I'm going to kind of give a couple of things that are being brought to the table for the new OS and just kind of give you some insight. So there is now the idea that you're getting more. It's going to harness the power of artificial intelligence to give you more from your phone. It'll be smarter, faster, and adapts as you use it. You will have the ability with the adaptive battery. With a single charge, you'll be able to your battery is gonna learn and adapt to how you use your phone. The apps and services you don't use as much aren't gonna drain your battery. Adaptive brightness. Any phone, Android or iPhone, I think this is always key. Adaptive brightness is a helpful tool to utilize on your phone. The reason why is because if you're in an area where you need more light, then you want it to kind of brighten up a little bit. Whereas if I'm in I ain't gonna say the movie theater, but if I'm at a bar and I'm somewhere where there's already a darkened environment, I don't need my screen to be at full blast. I just need it enough to see what I need to see. The app actions, your apps are gonna adjust to what you do. Predicts what you're about to do so you can get tasks, activities achieved quicker. It adapts to your morning commute. It's gonna adapt to knowing when you're at work, knowing when you use headphones to kind of adjust things. Like these are things that, even like and this is not an Apple versus Android thing, but it's something that Apple did that I'm kind of glad for. If I'm wearing if I'm using my phone in general and I play music, it'll play at a volume. Cool. If I put in my AirPods, it adjusts to the level that I last had my AirPods adjusted for the volume. If I'm wearing my earpods, if I'm wearing my Power Beats, if it was at full blast, then it's going to be on full blast. If it's my car, it adjusts the volume based on your settings and your environments. And this is what they're referring to with the app actions for the Android Pie. They have slices feature, which is going to bring relevant parts of your favorite apps to the surface. So anything that you're consistently using, you're going to see. And this is a feature that Google has always had. If you're like, for instance, if you have an iPhone or an Android, if you go to the Google app itself, it will go and it'll show you, okay, you're a sports fan or you're in a video game tech. Here's what's going on in tech. Here's the latest scores that have occurred for different events that just happened. Intuitive navigation. You'll be able to switch between apps to get what you need more naturally you'll be able to use gestures instead of physically having to press buttons. Great technology should help and it shouldn't distract. There are going to be tools to learn how to use your phone and make any adjustments along the way. See where you're spending time. You'll get a better idea of how often you use your phone. And this is something that a company brought out a Kickstarter related to this. And I'm all for this. And I think this is something that's important. The reason that people aren't good at communicating like they used to be is because we're on our phone all day. We're on our devices all day. Yes, I'm doing a podcast. Of course, I'm going to get information and sources from my tablet or from my phone or from wherever I'm, getting the information. But if I'm having just a general discussion or dialogue or whatever, I'm not on my phone the entire time we're having a conversation. Because when you're using your phone while talking to someone, it's not even that it's rude. It's just annoying because you really don't know if the person was or wasn't listening to what you said. They have app timers, it'll set time limits, which I think is great. And they kind of go over, the well-being. You can try out the digital well-being beta if you have a Google Pixel. And they give they go over all of the features on the link. So if you check the show notes, it's a very in-depth breakdown of Android 9 Pie. This weekend was Call of Duty, and I'll be like, wait, you talking about Call of Duty? Yeah, Call of Duty had their World League Championship this weekend. Not gonna front, I was going for United. Not even gonna lie. But United did get knocked off. FaZe and TK were playing in losers finals where Evil Geniuses was waiting. TK won. Evil Geniuses then went on to win. Evil Geniuses won, but TK was able to reset the bracket. and I've talked about this numerous times with matches. TK was coming in as losers. EG was already winning, so if they won three maps, they were good. Well, they ended up going to map 5 in the first series, and TK was able to win 3-2, which reset the bracket. And when they went into the next set of maps, Evil Geniuses just slaughtered them from the beginning. Evil Geniuses lineup has a couple of faces you may know. Or the guy who I always think of anytime I think of Call of Duty, I always think of Aches. Aches was previously with Complexity. Complexity had one of the best 4 that you ever would see back when Black Ops 2 was a big deal, but they did win World War II match. So we're now we're not too far away, but we're getting closer to the beta is still rolling as far as Black Ops 4. I've talked about this on show before. A lot of people do not have a huge joy for Black Ops 4. Don't know why, but to each his own. But I think Black Ops 4 is going to be fine. I mean, it's what everybody was asking for. Everybody wanted boots to the ground. I say that each time, but I'm just stuck on that because I feel like people really don't know what they were looking for. We're going to get into our pass of the week in a bit. There was a lot of music that kind of came and whisked by me, and I was surprised and caught in the rapture, whatever you want to call it. I believe I talked about I Used to Know Her, the prelude. If I did not, please check it out. It's a prelude. It's an EP. You kind of know what to expect. I'm gonna tease, but I'm gonna talk about my pull or breakdown of Queen by Nicki Minaj. I listened to that. So here's what I did. I listened to the album. And as I tell people all the time, certain times I usually do the shuffle listen. This was one of those rare instances I didn't shuffle listen. I just listened. So I listened to the album, talked about it a little bit online, had some input from people saying, oh, you know, it's trash, it ain't all that. And I was like, okay, let me listen myself, because you can't always go off of what other people have their feelings for or against. And then the other side of it is a lot of people do not like Nicki Minaj, period. So they're already going to dislike the album just because of that. But like I said, I just wanted to listen to see what it was about. Barbie Tings I did hear. Just leave it at that. I mean, it was a anyone who knows music understands it was a trolling album or a trolling song. So I listened to the album, got through it, went and I listened to Joe Budden's podcast and his take on the album, understood it a little bit more, listened to it while I was working out, kind of had my sift throughs and listens of bits and pieces of the album. I may be listening to it again once in a while, but it's not like if I'm hanging out with people or if I'm in the car and I'm like, all right, I need some music to play. It's not how on my list of albums to play. That's me though. Travis Scott's album came out and it was actually, Astroworld is I love it. I'm just in awe of that album. I've listened to, I need to fully listen to this album. Sabrina Claudio has an album called No Rain, No Flowers. You want to check that out? Let's see. I got awakened to the, I tried to listen to Anime's album 1.5. It's not me, but that doesn't mean it's not a good album. Some listeners may like that style of music. I personally do not. I had this as an article, but like I said, I want to listen to the album before I like really listen and give it a full deep dive. But Ariana Grande did do a dedication due to the shooting that occurred. I believe it was in Manchester. Don't hold me to that specific, but it's on her new album Sweetener. I'm gonna listen to that this week, and I'll have more feedback about that album. I realized that I was late to the party. with music. I always love when I'm late to the party for music or albums or singles, because I had someone introduce me to Death Cab for Cutie. They had an album that came out on last Friday called Thank You for Today. This is going to be my music sesh album recommendation that I feel if you are wanting to get a good listen to music, check it out. That's really all I can tell you. As I mentioned before, with PEDS coming up in September, I'm really going to deep dive or really give you a full Spotify review, because Spotify has been able to give me a better listening flow of music. As still, I get my podcast listens here and there, but majority of my listens are just music right now, because a lot of performers or artists in general are not on the Spotify wave, which I understand. Like I said, I think it's on the basis of if you're ready, and when you're ready, you'll make that choice of, putting it there, rolling with it, how you feel fit. But yeah, that's kind of my overall what I've listened to. Another album by Death Cab for Cutie I'm looking to listen to is Narrow Stairs. I've seen that one definitely hit for me. And that's kind of been it. I mean, on music the last couple of days, this kind of goes right into what I'll talk about as not an ass of the week, but a pass of the week. And it's to say what I was saying, you hear the term a lot where you hear, oh, we lost an icon. But we really and truly did lose an icon in music. And what was tough about it was Aretha Franklin by nature was a private person with how she did or does things. She didn't want anyone to know her health was not in its best state. They did confirm that her cause of death was due to advanced pancreatic cancer of the neuroendocrine type, which was confirmed by Franklin's oncologist. The rumors had started to swirl about her being diagnosed with pancreatic cancer back in 2010, but she never wanted to publicly come out about it. She passed at 9:50 a.m. I'm inclined, because the story, like I said, he talked about it on, I think it was Wednesday or Thursday, but it had already, it was just a matter of them publicly wanting to come out about the announcement. And I shared this to people who, follow me on my personal Instagram, but I'll share this with you all. I probably was all of not even 2 years old, 1 or 2 years old, whatever. And my music tied to Aretha. Everyone knows their song. Like, when you think of anybody who thinks of when you think of Michael Jackson, I think everybody has a different, go-to Michael Jackson song. My go-to was between Billie Jean, Earth Song. There was a couple. But there was never you couldn't go wrong with any Mike song. Whitney, same thing. Aretha, as a kid, as a baby, literally, we didn't even have a pink Cadillac. But my mom, I think, played the record, or 8-track, I'm not sure. And the song Freeway came on. And that was kind of like I know this is this may give people a better insight about me with music, but that probably was my foundation of music in a sense. Don't get me wrong, I've, listened to music, bought CDs, got into streaming, etc. But my first real true listen of music and understanding music, or realizing not understanding, but realizing I was kind of having a knack for music, and my mom she told me the story, and it's ironic, talking about it on her birthday. But it was, we riding on the freeway, Oh no, and the pink Cadillac. And I was always just excited about the pink Cadillac. But it was that's a song that I can listen to and it puts me in a good place with Aretha. You know, she was involved on the front line with a lot of battles and behind the scenes, you know, political based situations that we really don't even hear about to this day. But that's just how music was and how music is. I'm a stickler for this, and I always say it time and time again. Music is a very universal language. And, you know, even to this day, as a black male, Aretha's song about respect, you know, she was breaking it down like, you know, what you need, you know, I got it. All I'm asking is for a little respect. I think now at my stage and at my point personally in life, I will always work hard to get respect. Because I know it's earned, it's not given. I'm never going to ever look for anybody to just give me respect just because I'm who I am. You got to earn it. I got that. I'm okay with that. I have no conflict with earning respect from anybody. But I just want it. You respect me, I'm going to respect you. I make it, and that's even down to just basic discussions and conversations I have with people. I'm all about respect. If I feel disrespected, it generates a shutdown. And that again ties into Aretha. So Aretha, whether Aretha Franklin, whether you are hearing, you know, knowing about this podcast up in heaven or just having your impact on what I'm saying right now, just know you personally made an impact on me with music without me really deep diving it until I really step back and assess the full gist of it today. So, you know, we lost an icon, and she was 76 years old. And I just, like I said, I want people to really realize, like, I'm not gonna tell you as a podcaster, I'm never gonna tell a person what to or what not to listen to. But some music that you listen to now is because of different artists from the past. Make no mistake, she's one of them. And one last thing, and then I'll go into what I'm gonna make as a petty, slightly ass of the week, and you'll see why. She did it. She did music, and I, you know, listened to a lot of songs. But it's always fun as a music snob or music fan or music listener or whatever to get introduced to a song that you didn't even know she did until someone says, "Hey, did you hear so and so?" And it's like, no. And she did, I want to say, "What's Going On." Like, she redid one of Marvin Gaye's songs. And me listening to that, it blew my mind. Because I was not, like, it's usually one of those, like, oh, I'm prepared, I'm good, I can listen to this, I'll be all right. Soon as it started, I was like, no, I'm not ready for this. Let me reassess my life. Because it was definitely, like, she was what she really is what you call a soul singer. Like, not just, you know, it wasn't just something for her to do. I'm probably naming the wrong song because I don't think it was What's Going On. Hold on. I'm sorry. Way off. You're All I Need to Get By. Listen to You're All I Need to Get By Aretha Franklin. I'm going to put the Spotify and the YouTube link in the show notes because a lot of people don't have Spotify. But just, yeah, just check it out. So this leads us in to what I would not have expected to do as an ass of the week, but I'm doing it anyway because I don't care. And that is Fox failed. No surprise, I know. But somehow Fox got Patti LaBelle's picture. Or got Patti... This is the worst analogy, but I'm going to say it because I can. It's almost the horrible analogy of all black people look alike. No, we don't. And on top of that, there's no way possible whoever was doing the video editing or the screenshots or whatever could possibly have put Aretha Franklin and Patti LaBelle's picture as distinguished of being similar. Two different people. So Fox News got their Queens of Soul confused on Thursday, as Twitter users were quick to recognize the network's tribute to Aretha Franklin, who died Thursday morning at 76, featured an image of Patti LaBelle instead. The faded photo appeared during an America newsroom segment with hosts Bill Hemmer and Sandra Smith, who were in the midst of lauding Franklin's legacy. Hemmer said she sang with a smile on her face when she performed, and that is what she admitted for so many millions and for so many years. So they show a video, they show some information, but then they also were able to get like a good screenshot that shows the actual pictures that were there that shouldn't have been there. And it was like, how did y'all get this wrong? So Fox, congratulations. This probably isn't the first time, and it likely won't be the last, but you are getting ass of the week for that one. Because that's a segment that you can't mess up. That's almost like putting Stevie Wonder and then you put Stevie J. Just let that sink. Anyway, that is all I have this week. I am glad to always give great content to you all as listeners of the show. We got a even more packed show next week. I'm going to be pushing to see if it's some stories that break with preseason. Like I said, right now, football is preseason. We're waiting for football to start. Baseball, we're going to kind of get down to the end with the World Series coming soon, or playoffs starting for that. And yeah, that's what we're working with right now. So continue to tune in. Podcasts are uploaded each week on Spreaker. Spreaker.com/Bright Tape Podcast if you want to check out any of the previous episodes. If you want to even go back to episode 1 when I had no idea what I was doing. I did, but I didn't. But check those shows out. The podcasts are on iTunes podcast app, Spreaker, SoundCloud. No, why do I always want to be on SoundCloud? On Spotify, Tidal, Acast, Radio Public. There's not a site that I'm not on. I make sure tune in, Stitcher, can't forget those. The shows are there to check out, so listen, catch up. If you are really not sure how to listen to the shows, some of the weekly shows you can get away with missing, because unless it was something back on that particular week you really wanted to know about, definitely tune in to those. But if anything, PETA and between PETA for Podcast Every Day in August and Podcast Every Day in April, you'll love. Twin Talk, enough said. And yeah, just check out the shows. Microphone being used for the podcast is the Blue Yeti microphone. If you're looking to start out with a podcast, if you are unable to afford the Blue Yeti, because I think the Blue Yeti's at about $120 or $130, you can definitely get a Blue Snowball. Some people get the Audio Technica. I think they're great as well. Find what works for you. That's all that's the best advice I can give. And intros and outros are done thanks to Grimecraft. So continue listening. We will have more content next week. And until next time, The Past signing out. Y'all take it easy. Thanks for tuning in. If you'd like to get any information specifically based on the shows, you can go to Spreaker.com/BriTapePodcast or go to www.pastpodcast.com. On both of those options, you do have the information related to what topics were talked about, the timestamps for the episode, as well as the specific links related to that specific story. Thanks for tuning in. Until next time, The Past signing out. でもそんなんじゃダメ、もうそんなんじゃほら、心は進化するよ、もっともっと。そんなんじゃダメ、もうそんなんじゃほら、心は進化